I have never seen that before. That is a lot of static electricity getting discharged there. That's crazy. It's always a little exciting and nerve-wracking. Need to add another 10 terabytes to the RAID. Always wait to the end of the day or a weekend to do this because it can take a couple hours until it syncs. But I'll show you how I do that real quick here. So I want to replace bay 2 here. You just pop this out. This is hot swappable, so as it's running, you just pull it out. And it's going to do its thing. Copy all the information, be good to go. And if you notice there, it was blinking degraded. And that just means that, well, there's 3 drives in there, and the way a RAID works is if any one of the drives fails, no information's lost. That's why you can swap that out to a larger drive. So that's going to take probably 5 or 6 hours to recopy all the information on there. And then it'll automatically calculate that instead of having like 600 gigabytes available, I'm gonna have several terabytes available now. At least I think so. I might have to swap out the 3rd drive. Well, if you're curious, it took like 2 days for those 2 drives to sync. 2 10 terabyte hard drives. Took a little bit longer than I thought, but everything's good to go now. I got plenty of space, room to grow. If you've noticed, the Canon's installed and finally started running some jobs through it, so that's really good. It's very interesting to see the differences between the 2 machines. The main difference being the density of the black. If you want a really black, Konica's the way to go. But if you want good grayscales, the Canon is just phenomenal. So I'm going to be also really interested to see what the economics of this Canon machine is. I'm going to start a new tab on my my click count spreadsheet that's available in my Patreon, so I can start keeping track of the clicks of this machine and any parts and toner that I have to put into it, so I can kind of calculate a click cost for self-servicing this machine. So I have about 10,000 sheets I got to run through here. I'm going to load that up and see what happens. I kind of wish I would have kept the old AV-DIC 360 or the Ryobi 2800 to run this job. It's light coverage, just black, 10,000 sheets. It would probably be more economical to run on one of those machines, but it's also pretty cheap to run it on this, especially since I am servicing it myself. So, oh well, I use what I got. Also been wanting to give you guys a little bit of a taste into hardcover book production that we started. Well, this week I guess is when we actually completed some of our first ones. I'll be putting together a detailed video from start to finish on that at some point, but I got all my machines hooked up. They're spread out all over the place depending on where I could get electricity easily, because my goal is ultimately to clean up one spot to put everything permanently, but I gotta figure out where I gotta put everything yet. Got the old building in machine here. This presses and puts a score on the spine when as the final step after you case in a hardcover book. And in the warehouse here is where I have several other things put together. I have a case making table now, so I can make my own cases. I use a hot melt adhesive here, which is really nice to work with. It's a little tricky to work with compared to the cold, but it's tackier. I like it. We'll see. We might actually try cold at some point as well. Who knows? And I also have a foil stamp machine here which just does simple foil stamping of titles, and I could do on the spine or the front. So that's a pretty cool machine. Works kind of like a typewriter, individually stamping out each letter. And got my rotary press to squeeze everything. It's very much hand process right now, and it's kind of exploratory. It's almost like a hobby for me to kind of play around with it. I really want to get into sewn hardcovers at some point, but baby steps, take one little bit at a time here, and yeah, it's been fun. If anybody needs a paper cutter, I've got a paper cutter that I don't need. I got this one here too. If you're somewhat close by and want a cheap paper cutter, let me know. Those are also listed on eBay if you're interested. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. My first error. Remove sheets from internal paper path. Well, I mean, we printed a fair amount of stuff already, and this is the first one. Open tray. Oh yeah, that's a problem. That was easy. I was actually kind of blown away by the amount of people that were commenting about seeing a Canon machine in my print shop. I didn't realize I would offend some of you that much. I'm not necessarily switching over, and the reality is I'd like to run two of them because I'm finding out that some jobs will just look better on one machine than the other machine. But also, I'm never 100% sold and loyal to any manufacturer of equipment, of paper, or anything. I always like to try new things because things do change, and it gives me options. You know, if toner dried up for Konica, I would have another machine to fall back on, or vice versa. So you're just gonna see it for a little while. I'll probably run both of them, but again, who knows? Well, it's pretty cool because according to my calculations, since this machine didn't cost me anything and I haven't bought any toner or parts or anything yet, my click cost right now is theoretically zero. So it's free to run stuff through this machine. But I guess I have a truck rental to pick up the machine and everything, so that's not entirely true. So I don't know that this camera is going to do it justice, but I printed out a sample test sheet on this machine and the Konica 1200 so you can see the difference. So in reality, both of these look really good, other than I have a little bit of a line here on the 1200. I just need to either clean my wires or put new wires in. But up here is the Canon Varioprint, and it's much softer. It looks more like an uncoated offset printed sheet. It has a lot more grays in the information here, and you know, mid-tones. Your blackest black is still black, but it looks more like offset and less like digital. But the quality is really nice. There's no lines or anything. I don't know if that's going to be the way it is for the duration, or just because it's new and I haven't run it that much, or new to me. Whereas the Konica has much denser blacks, which are nice for text. I'll be honest, I like the text on the Konica better than this. But it's still, it looks pretty good. But you can see here that like you lose information. I mean, here you can see it in your mid-gray here, but it kind of cuts off here with the Konica. And who knows, maybe a trained professional Konica technician would be able to get my 1200 to have those grays, more of the halftones, but the drum and the developer are relatively new, so it should be pretty top-notch right now. But I'm happy with the quality of both of these. But it's interesting to me how they both kind of have their place, and they both excel separately, and I wouldn't say one is better than the other. So, yeah, but time will tell. I'm also interested, one person had mentioned that the newer Canons, you need an actual key, like a USB, I guess, to get into service mode. And I think this is one that you need that key. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to service this because I haven't got into the service mode yet. On the older Varioprint, I can get into the service mode. So I'm gonna run this for a while, see what happens. If I have to roll the other one out here and swap it around, that's just the way it is. Well, I think that's about enough fun for one day. Thanks again for everybody that had commented on the previous video and have offered help and information and tips. If you haven't watched that other video, go back and watch the last one. It's great to be a community of printers. You know, we're few and far between, but it's fun. Anyways, we'll see you next time.